The council chamber floated in space between the stars. It was huge, made of crystal and metal. Inside this place, aliens from 400 different worlds made decisions about other species. Today they were talking about Earth. Ambassador Juan stood alone in front of them all. He wore his military uniform. It was clean and pressed, even after 3 months of space travel. He looked around at the aliens. Some lived in tanks filled with strange liquid. Others glowed with light that somehow turned into words everyone could understand. None of them looked like humans. The speaker was the biggest alien in the room. It looked like a flower made of crystal. It started talking without even looking at Juan. The speaker's thoughts filled the room with feelings of disgust. Earth has not paid what they owe us, the speaker said. This is the 4th time. Your government says you do not have enough resources, but we know you have minerals in your northern lands. We do not believe your excuse. Juan felt angry but stayed calm. Those minerals were under cities where millions of people lived. Mining them would destroy homes and lives, but the council did not care about comfort. They had made that clear when Earth joined. The tribute system needs time, Juan said. His words came out wrong through the translation machine. Earth joined the council only 20 years ago. We need more time to build the right equipment. We do not give more time to those who owe us, the speaker said, cutting him off. Your world agreed to these rules when you took our technology. The medicine we gave you should be payment enough. Juan thought about his sister Minji. She died from cancer 2 years before aliens came to Earth. The alien medicine could have saved her in just 1 afternoon. That fact made Earth's leaders desperate to join the council. They wanted to save lives, so they agreed to terms they did not fully understand. The aliens explained things through machines that might not work correctly, and the aliens thought humans were almost like animals. Now Earth owed more than it could ever pay. The council kept asking for more and more. What started as a fair trade for technology became something terrible. Earth was becoming a slave world. We need more time, Juan said, or you must reduce what we owe. The room filled with sounds. The translation machine made it sound like laughter. It felt like knives cutting into his mind. More time is only for civilized species. An alien from the Methane Collective said, Client worlds exist to serve us. That is how things work. Then we ask you to review our status, Juan said. Earth has given you researchers, engineers, and soldiers. We have value beyond just minerals. Your soldiers? The speaker seemed amused. Yes, we have seen humans in our forces. You fight well enough for creatures who die so young, but fighting does not give you status in civilized society. That needs cultural advancement. You do not have that. You still fight wars among yourselves. You compete for resources. You have not achieved unity. These are the signs of client species, not partners. Juan wanted to argue. He wanted to say that human differences made them creative. Competition pushed them to grow faster than many older species. But he had said these things before in other meetings. The council did not listen. They had decided what humans were. No evidence would change their minds. The council has decided, the speaker announced. Earth's tribute will increase by 30%. This is to make up for what you failed to pay. You have 2 cycles to comply. If you do not, we will enforce our decision. This meeting is over. Juan stood alone as the aliens left. They walked past him like he was a piece of furniture. Not one looked at him or spoke to him. To them, he was just the voice of a world that owed them money. He was barely worth their time. He went back to his small room on the station. The station had a section for client species. It was cramped and uncomfortable. His assistant, June, was waiting for him. June was young and angry in a way that Juan used to be. Years of failure had worn down Juan's anger. They increased it again, June said. It was not a question. 30% more, Juan said. We have 2 cycles. That is impossible. Even if we destroy the Arctic and mine everything, we could not pay that much. This is designed to make us fail. Yes, Juan said quietly. I think you are right. June's hands made fists. He had family and soul. Those people would have to leave their homes if Earth started mining operations. His voice became very quiet. Then what do we do? Juan looked at the young man for a long time. In that face, he saw the question that all of Earth was asking. They had tried to obey. They had tried to negotiate. They had tried to ask for mercy from beings who had no mercy. The aliens saw humans as property, not people. We prepare, Juan said, and when they come to enforce their decision, we show them something. We show them that humans are not easy to break. June's eyes got wide. That is treason. Against the entire Galactic Council. Juan nodded slowly. Yes, it is. But maybe it is time the galaxy learned something about us. Humans come from a death world. We survived ice ages and plagues and terrible wars. We are still here because we never learned how to give up. The Council is about to learn what that means. June looked scared but also excited. You are talking about war. I am talking about survival, Juan said. There is a difference. We did not choose this. They forced us into it. When someone tries to enslave you, fighting back is not wrong. It is necessary. Do we have any chance of winning? June asked. Juan walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the darkness. Somewhere out there was Earth, the blue planet where humanity had been born. I do not know, he said honestly. But I know what happens if we do nothing. They will strip our planet of resources. They will work our people to death. And in the end, they will abandon us on a dead world. That is what they did to the Carthax. That is what they planned for us. So we fight even if we lose, June said. We fight because we refuse to be slaves, Juan said. Win or lose, we show the galaxy that humans will not bow down. Maybe that message reaches other client species. Maybe it changes things. Or maybe we die fighting, but at least we die free. June stood next to him at the window. They both looked out at the stars. When do we start? I will send a message to Earth tonight, Juan said. A coded message that the Council cannot read. I will tell them what is coming. Then they will decide. But I think I already know what they will choose. Humans do not surrender easily. The Council thinks we are weak, June said. Yes, Juan agreed. They think we are primitives who barely understand their technology. They think we are grateful for their medicine and their machines. They have no idea what we are really capable of. And that mistake might be the only advantage we have. That night, Juan composed his message. He wrote it in code, hidden inside normal communication traffic. He told Earth's leaders what the Council had decided. He told them that enforcement was coming, and he told them that it was time to choose between slavery and freedom. As he sent the message into space, traveling faster than light toward home, Juan felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. Not hope that everything would be fine, but hope that humanity would at least go down fighting. That was better than dying on their knees. The Council had made a mistake. They had pushed Earth too far. They had assumed that humans would accept any terms rather than fight. But humans were born on a world that tried to kill them every day. They evolved to fight back against impossible odds. That was in their blood, in their bones, in their hearts. The galaxy was about to learn something important. When you corner a predator, when you give it no way out except through you, it does not surrender. It attacks. And humans were the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The Council just did not know it yet. The message from Juan reached Earth through secret channels. The Council did not know these channels existed. They thought client species were too simple to create hidden communication systems. Juan's warning traveled inside normal data streams. It was hidden in shipping records and entertainment broadcasts. Within hours, it reached the Pacific Defense Office. General Soman read the decoded message 3 times. She needed to be sure she understood. The Council was coming to Earth. Juan believed they wanted to make an example of humanity. Enforcement did not mean negotiation. It meant occupation, maybe even extermination if humans fought back. She called an emergency meeting, but she did not use any official building. The Council might be watching those. Instead, they met in a secret facility. It was buried under 3 miles of ice in the Arctic. Maps said it was an old nuclear testing ground. That was a lie. It was Earth's hidden defense command center. The room was small and strong. Most importantly, it was shielded from every type of scanning technology the Council had. Around the table sat the people who had been preparing for this day. They hoped it would never come. But they had prepared anyway. Colonel Day spoke first. He ran the reverse engineering program. For 20 years, he had been taking apart alien technology to learn how it worked. We always knew this might happen, he said. The tribute system was designed to fail. They did the same thing to another species called the Carthax. They strip-mined that world until it was almost dead. Then they left. That is their plan for us too. The question is simple, Soman said. Can we stop them? What do we have? Day turned on a holographic display. It showed Earth's secret defenses. This information could get everyone in the room killed if the Council found out. We have the orbital defense grid, Day began. The Council built it to protect us from asteroids. but we modified 60% of the platforms. The Council thinks they track space rocks. Actually, they track Council ships and calculate firing solutions. We have the fleet, Admiral Isul added. She commanded the Luna shipyards on Earth's moon. Officially, we operate 20 Council-designed patrol ships. Unofficially, we have been building our own ships. We used their technology as a starting point and improved it. We have 80 combat ships that the Council does not know about. They are not as advanced as Council ships, but they work. What about weapons? Salman asked. This is the interesting part, Day said with a dark smile. Council weapons are very sophisticated. They use energy barriers, plasma weapons, and matter disintegration. Very advanced. Very efficient. But they have one huge weakness. They assume everyone else uses the same kind of technology. He showed a video of a weapons test. A Council energy barrier appeared. It could stop any energy weapon in the galaxy. Then something small and heavy punched through it like paper. The barrier did not even detect the threat before the object was through. Kinetic weapons, Day explained. Railguns. Mass drivers. Old-fashioned bullets, but very big and very fast. The Council stopped using these weapons 1,000 years ago. They think kinetic weapons are crude and inefficient. Their shields are not designed to stop physical objects moving at huge speeds. Why would they be? No civilized species uses such primitive technology. Around the table, people started to smile. The smiles were not pleasant. We turned our backwardness into a weapon, Soman said slowly. They look at us and see primitives. They think we barely understand their technology. They have no idea we have been improving our own weapons. Exactly, Day confirmed. Every Council inspection looked at whether we were copying their designs correctly. None of them checked our military research bases. Why would they? We are a client species. We exist to mine minerals and provide cheap labor. The idea that we might develop our own weapons never entered their minds. Somin studied the display. Even with their hidden advantages, the odds did not look good. How many ships will they send? Based on what they did to the Carthax? Day checked his data. 5 capital ships and 20 support vessels. Enough to control the system and destroy any resistance. They expect us to surrender as soon as they arrive. Client species always do. Can we win? The question came from Dr. Hyan. He was the civilian representative. He was the only person in the room who still hoped for peace. Win is complicated, Somin said carefully. Can we destroy their enforcement fleet? Maybe. Their ships are more advanced, but we have more ships and supplies on our side. We will lose many ships and people. But yes, I think we can win the battle. But then the Council sends more ships, Jan said quietly. Bigger ones. More of them. Eventually, they kill us all for daring to resist. Unless we change the situation. Juan's voice came through the secure communication system. He was still at the Council station, listening through the encrypted channel. I have been studying Council politics for 20 years. They are not as united as they pretend. There are factions and disagreements. Some species resent the dominant powers. If we can survive the first battle, if we can prove that client species can fight back, we might break their unity. You are talking about starting a galactic civil war, Hyun said. I am talking about survival, Juan replied. The Council's system is built on one assumption. Advanced civilizations naturally dominate lesser ones. We need to break that assumption. Show other client species that resistance is possible. Force the Council to either reform or face rebellion on hundreds of worlds. Soman stood up. Her decision was made. Begin preparations. Full mobilization, but keep it quiet. We have 2 cycles before they arrive. I want every ship armed, every defense platform activated, every human in the system ready to fight. If the Council wants to make an example of Earth, we will make sure the lesson is not what they expect. The meeting ended. The commanders left to do their jobs. But Hyun stayed with Soman. The old scientist looked troubled. We are really doing this, Hyun said. We are going to war with beings who have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Soman nodded. Yes, we are. I spent my whole career trying to prove we were worthy, Hyun continued. I thought if we could show them our science, our art, our potential, they would accept us as equals. I was foolish, was I not? Not foolish, Soman said gently. Hopeful. There is a difference. But hope alone will not save us now. The Council has shown us who they really are. Now we show them who we are. And maybe, just maybe, we will shock them badly enough that they will have no choice but to take us seriously. Over the next 2 cycles, Earth transformed. The changes were subtle. The Council's spy satellites saw normal activity. Ships moved according to regular schedules. Mining operations continued as expected, but underneath that normal appearance, something massive was happening. Every civilian ship that went to the asteroid belt carried hidden weapons. Mining stations became armed fortresses. The 80 secret warships moved into position, hiding among the asteroids where Council sensors could not detect them. The orbital platforms around Earth and Mars received their final modifications. Admiral Isol worked 20-hour days preparing the fleet. Every captain received detailed battle plans. They studied Council ship designs and looked for weaknesses. They practiced formations and attack patterns. They prepared for a battle that would decide whether humanity lived or died. Colonel Day made final checks on the weapon systems. The railguns were loaded and ready. Each projectile was a rod of depleted uranium, small but incredibly dense. When accelerated to a fraction of light speed, these simple pieces of metal would hit with the force of nuclear weapons. On Earth, people prepared in their own ways. Some prayed, some spent time with family, some volunteered for emergency services, ready to help if the battle came to their planet. News broadcasts did not mention the coming conflict directly, but everyone knew. The tension was everywhere. Soman watched all the preparations from the command center. Reports came in constantly. Ship status, weapon readiness, personnel deployment, everything was coming together. But she knew it might not be enough. "Do you think we will survive?" Day asked her one night. They were alone in the command center reviewing final plans. "I think we will fight well," Somin replied. "Beyond that, I cannot say. War is unpredictable. We have advantages they do not know about. But they have thousands of years of experience. They have better technology. In a straight fight, they would crush us. So we do not fight straight," Day said. "Exactly," Soman agreed. "We ambush them, hit them hard and fast, make them bleed, show them that conquering Earth will cost more than they want to pay. That is our only hope." The 2 cycles passed quickly. Too quickly. On the final day, Soman addressed all the ships and stations through a secure channel. Her message was simple. Tomorrow the Council comes. They come to enslave us, to strip our world bare, to break our spirit. They think we will surrender without a fight. They are wrong. We are humans. We survived when the ice covered our world. We survived when plague killed millions. We survived when we nearly destroyed ourselves with war. We are still here because we never give up. Tomorrow we show the galaxy what that means. Tomorrow we show them that humans bow to no one. Fight well, fight hard, and remember why we fight. For Earth, for freedom, for humanity, the message ended. Across the solar system, humans prepared for battle. The Council fleet arrived exactly when Juan predicted. Space rippled and tore as 5 massive ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. Each capital ship was bigger than any city on Earth. 20 smaller support vessels came with them. The ships carried weapons that could burn a planet's surface clean of life. On the flagship, Commander Velak looked at the reports about Earth. This was routine work. Nothing important. The humans would see the fleet and surrender. That was how it always happened. Client species knew their place. "Send them the standard message," Velak ordered. "Give them 1 day to prepare their surrender. Then we take control of the orbit and start mining operations." The communication officer sent the demand on all human frequencies. It was not a negotiation. It was a fact. Earth's answer came 12 hours later. Not a surrender. Not a plea for mercy. Just 3 words that echoed through every Council ship. "Come and take it." Velak stared at the message for a long time. Was this a translation error? Or were the humans actually insane? Client species did not refuse. They did not resist. They certainly did not challenge Council authority with battle cries. "Scan the system," Velak ordered. "Find their military ships. This will be quick." The scan showed exactly what Council intelligence expected. 20 patrol ships, orbital platforms around Earth and Mars, a few mining stations in the asteroid belt. Nothing that could threaten a Council enforcement fleet. The humans were choosing destruction over surrender. They were insane. "Move to Earth orbit," Velak commanded. "Destroy any resistance. Prepare bombardment systems if they continue to refuse." The fleet moved forward, confident, unstoppable. They reached halfway to Mars when the attack began. The asteroids came first, but these were not random rocks. They were guided missiles, each one weighing millions of tons. Hidden mass drivers had accelerated them to incredible speeds. They appeared on the Council sensors too late. The first asteroid hit a support vessel in the middle. The ship simply stopped existing. The kinetic energy vaporized it completely. "Shields up," Felix shouted. But the energy barriers could not stop pure mass and velocity. The shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They did nothing against huge rocks moving at nearly light speed. 3 more support ships died in seconds. Then the hidden fleet appeared. 80 human warships came out of the outer asteroid belt. They were crude compared to Council ships. But there were many of them, and they moved aggressively. They accelerated at speeds that would crush most species. Humans could endure it because they evolved on a high-gravity world. Their bodies were built for it. "How many ships do they have?" Velak demanded. The tactical display filled with targets. "Our intelligence was wrong," the sensor officer said. His voice shook. "They have been building in secret. These ships use our technology, but they modified it. I do not recognize half their weapons." The human fleet opened fire. Velak suddenly understood their terrible mistake. The weapons were primitive ballistic projectiles instead of energy beams. But they punched through shields as if the shields were not there. A capital ship's barrier could spread a plasma blast across its whole surface. It could not stop a heavy metal rod moving at incredible speed. One of the capital ships took a direct hit. The railgun projectile went straight through the hull. It carved through interior walls and systems. It came out the other side, leaving a tunnel of destruction. Secondary explosions ripped through the ship as critical systems failed. On the human flagship, Admiral Esol watched the battle with grim satisfaction. They were losing ships as Council weapons found their targets. But the surprise was total. The Council expected sheep. They found wolves. "Second wave launch," she ordered. The orbital defense platforms revealed their true purpose. The Council thought they tracked asteroids. Actually, they were the largest railguns ever built. Each one could accelerate a projectile to 1/10 the speed of light. They fired. The space between Mars and Earth lit up with death. Velak's flagship took 2 hits. The first destroyed the main power source. The second disabled the engines. The massive vessel hung dead in space. Human ships swarmed around it like predators around wounded prey. "Retreat," Velak ordered. "All ships pull back to jump distance." But the humans had planned for that too. The jump point where they entered was now filled with mines, crude nuclear devices that would make it impossible to jump safely. The Council fleet was trapped in the system with an enemy that fought with unexpected strength. The battle continued for 6 hours. It was brutal. Ships exploded. People died. The space around Mars became a graveyard of burning metal and frozen bodies. When it ended, only one Council capital ship escaped. It jumped away, damaged and barely working. The rest of the fleet was destroyed or captured. Hundreds of humans died. 12 ships were lost, but they won. In the aftermath, rescue crews searched the wreckage for survivors. Engineers started taking apart captured Council ships to learn from them. Somin stood in the command center. She allowed herself one moment of relief, but reality quickly set in. "They will come back," Colonel Day said quietly. "More ships next time." "Better prepared, I know," Somin replied. "But we bought time. And we sent a message to every client species in the galaxy. The Council can be beaten. They will see the battle recordings. They will know resistance is possible. What if nobody else fights?" Dai asked. "What if we are alone?" Somin looked at the tactical display. It showed the debris field that used to be a Council fleet. "Then we fight alone. Our ancestors survived ice ages and plagues and terrible wars. We are still here because we never learned how to give up. The Council is about to learn what that means." Around Earth, celebrations erupted. People danced in the streets. They cried with relief. They hugged strangers. The impossible had happened. Humanity had defeated the Council. For one night, they allowed themselves to believe it was over. But in the command center, the leaders knew better. This was just the beginning. The Council would not accept this defeat. They would send more ships, better prepared, more determined. The real test was still to come. Admiral Isul began immediate salvage operations. Every piece of Council technology was valuable. Every weapon system studied. Every armor plate analyzed. They needed every advantage they could get. "How long do we have?" she asked Somin during a planning meeting. "Unknown," Somin replied. "It depends on how the Council reacts. If they immediately send overwhelming force, we might have weeks. If they pause to debate and plan, we might have months. We use whatever time we get to prepare. And if they decide to just destroy Earth from a distance, burn the planet from orbit?" Hazel asked the hard question. Then we evacuate who we can to the outer colonies, Soman said, and we make them pay for every human life. But I do not think they will do that. The Council wants to make an example of us, show other client species what happens to rebels. Just destroying us does not send the right message. They want us broken and enslaved, not martyred. Dr. Hyan entered the meeting. He looked exhausted but excited. I have news. Communications from the Council station. Juan is safe. He was not arrested. And he says something is happening there. The Council is arguing. Not all species agree on what to do about us. Soman leaned forward. Tell me everything. Some species are shocked by our victory, Hyun said. They want to study how we did it. Others are angry and want immediate retaliation. But there is a third group. They think the Council's client system needs reform. They say what we did proves the system is broken. A political split, Day said. That is what Juan predicted. If we can widen that split, turn some Council species to our side, we might survive this. We need more information, Soman said. Tell Juan to work every contact he has. We need to know who our potential allies are, and we need to give them reasons to support us. Over the next days, more reports came in. The battle data had spread across the galaxy faster than the Council could stop it. Client species everywhere saw how Earth fought. Some were inspired, others were terrified. But all of them were thinking about their own situations. 3 client species sent secret messages to Earth. They wanted to know how humans organized their defense, how they kept it secret, how they modified Council technology. The seeds of rebellion were spreading. In the Council chamber, debates raged. Some wanted immediate massive retaliation, send 100 ships, destroy Earth completely, make an example so terrifying that no client species would ever rebel again. But others argued differently. They pointed out that Earth's kinetic weapons were effective against Council shields, that the tributary system created desperation, that forcing species into impossible situations led to resistance. Maybe, they said, reform was necessary. The debate continued, and while the Council argued, Earth prepared. They built more ships, improved their weapons, trained more crews. Every day without an attack was a gift. They used it well. Soman knew this peace would not last. The Council would decide eventually. They would come. The question was whether Earth would be ready, and whether they would face the entire Council or only part of it. The Battle of Sol was over. Humanity had won, but the war for survival had just begun. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than the Council could suppress it. The battle data was complete. It showed clearly how a client species destroyed an enforcement fleet. The recordings traveled through channels the Council could not control. In the Council chamber, chaos erupted. The speaker's crystalline body pulsed with colors that meant fury and disbelief. Around the chamber, representatives argued in dozens of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with all the overlapping voices. This is unacceptable, the Methane Collective's delegate said. A client species destroyed Council ships. We must respond with overwhelming force. Kill them all. But other voices rose in disagreement. Not all Council members agreed. Ambassador Juan watched from his small seating area. He saw cracks appearing in what had seemed like perfect unity. The Verdant Union representative was a massive plant-based intelligence. It pulsed thoughtfully. The humans use kinetic weapons. Primitive, yes, but effective against our defenses. This means our technology has become too specialized. Maybe we should study their methods instead of destroying them. Study them? The speaker's outrage filled the chamber. They are client species. They exist to serve, not to challenge us. This rebellion must be crushed. With respect, another delegate said. This one was from the Quiet Mind species. The humans raised a good point in their last petition. Our tribute system has become exploitative. Look at the Carthex world. It is barely livable now because we took too much. Maybe Earth's resistance shows a problem with how we manage client species. The chamber erupted again with arguments. Juan watched in shock. He was seeing something unprecedented. The Council was arguing among themselves about basic policy. Earth's defiance had done more than win a battle. It forced questions that had been ignored for centuries. The debate continued for 3 days. During breaks, Juan worked his contacts. He spoke quietly with delegates who had always seemed sympathetic, but never dared disagree publicly. Now, with Earth's victory fresh in their minds, they were willing to consider alternatives. On the fourth day, something shocking happened. The Verdant Union announced they were withdrawing from the enforcement vote. They would not participate in exterminating a species that showed innovative adaptation. Within hours, 3 other species followed. The Quiet Minds, the Silicon Compact, and surprisingly, the Drift Collective that had never opposed council policy before. The unity was breaking. The speaker called an emergency session. This is unprecedented. The council has always acted with one voice about client species. Division now will encourage rebellion everywhere. Perhaps that is necessary, the Verdant Union representative replied. The humans proved that our assumptions about lesser species are wrong. They are not less intelligent or less capable. They simply developed differently. Our insistence on viewing them as inferior is based on prejudice, not evidence. They are barbaric, the Methane Collective protested. They still fight wars among themselves. They compete instead of cooperating. They have not achieved unity. They unified when facing us, the Silicon Compact noted. Their entire species mobilized to resist. That required sophisticated organization, whatever form it takes. Different from ours does not mean worse. Juan saw his chance. He requested permission to speak. Client ambassadors were technically allowed to do this, but it was never granted. To his shock, the Verdant Union supported his request. The speaker could not refuse without looking like a tyrant. Honorable delegates, Juan began. His voice was amplified through the translation system. Earth does not want to destroy the Council or overthrow galactic civilization. We want recognition as equals. We fought because you gave us no choice. Your tribute system was designed to fail. You wanted to reduce us to permanent slaves. We offer an alternative. Reform the client system. Create a clear path for species to achieve full membership. Base it on capability, not arbitrary judgments. Establish fair trade instead of tribute. And most importantly, recognize that diversity makes civilization stronger, not weaker. You want us to simply forgive your destruction of council ships? The speaker demanded. I propose you acknowledge that your enforcement fleet came to enslave my people, Juan replied steadily. We defended ourselves. That is not rebellion. That is survival. If the Council cannot accept that client species have the right to exist free from exploitation, then perhaps the Council itself has become tyranny. The chamber fell completely silent. Juan had just called the Council tyrannical. That should result in immediate execution. But too many delegates were nodding. Too many were reconsidering positions they had held for generations. The speaker realized the situation was getting out of control. This session is concluded. We will vote on enforcement in one cycle. All delegates will think carefully about their positions. As the chamber cleared, Juan returned to his quarters. He was exhausted, but cautiously hopeful. June was waiting with updates from the diplomatic channels. The message was spreading. 6 more species privately said they would oppose extermination. 4 client species sent secret messages asking for details about Earth's defense. We might actually survive this, June said with wonder. Maybe, Juan agreed, but the fight is not over. The hardliners will push for revenge. We need to be ready for anything. What Juan did not say was the coded message he received from home. General Soman was preparing every defense Earth had. If the Council voted for extermination, if they sent their full military against humanity, Earth would fight to the last person. But now there was another possibility. The Council was divided. If Earth could hold on, if they could convince enough species that reform was possible, they might avoid extermination. They might actually change the galaxy. Over the next cycle, Juan worked harder than ever. He met with sympathetic delegates. He shared information about human culture and achievements. He carefully avoided making threats while making it clear that Earth would not go down easily. Some delegates were genuinely interested. They had never thought about client species as potentially equal. The idea that Council policy might be wrong was new and disturbing, but Earth's victory made them reconsider. Others were calculating political advantage. If the Council split over this issue, which side would benefit them more? The old system was comfortable and profitable. but supporting reform might gain them allies among the numerous client species. The Verdant Union became Juan's strongest ally. Their representative, whose name translated roughly as Deeproot, met with him privately. "Your people have done something remarkable," Deeproot said through the translator. "You forced us to question assumptions we held for thousands of years. That is uncomfortable, but necessary growth is often uncomfortable." "Will reform pass?" Juan asked directly. "I cannot say," Deeproot replied. "The vote will be close. Much depends on the moderate species. Those who see problems with the current system but fear change. If we can convince them that reform is safer than maintaining a system that creates rebellions, we have a chance." "And if extermination wins the vote?" Juan asked. Deeproot was silent for a long moment. "Then I fear the Council will fracture completely. Several species have privately said they will not participate in genocide. The unity that has held us together for millennia will break. That might be worse than reform." The vote cycle passed too quickly. Juan spent every moment working his contacts, building coalitions, arguing for reform. June helped, reaching out to younger delegates who were more open to change. On Earth, people waited anxiously. News of the council debates had reached home. Everyone knew their fate hung in the balance. Some prayed, some prepared for war, some simply tried to live normally, refusing to let fear control them. General Soman maintained combat readiness. Every ship stayed armed and crewed. Every weapon system remained hot. If the vote went badly, they would have minutes to react. She would not waste those minutes. Dr. Hyon worked on plans for evacuation if necessary. How many people could they move to the outer colonies? How long could those colonies survive independently? The numbers were not encouraging. But it was better than no plan at all. Admiral Esil studied captured council technology. Every advantage mattered. She found weaknesses in their shield systems, flaws in their targeting computers. Small things, but small things could decide battles. The day of the vote arrived. The council chamber filled with representatives from every species. Client species observers were allowed in for the first time ever. That change alone showed how much Earth had affected things. The speaker called for votes on 3 options. First, extermination. Commit full military might to destroying Earth completely. Make an example that would prevent future rebellions. Second, containment. Blockade the solar system. Let humans survive but isolated. Third, reform. Restructure the client system to provide fair terms and a path to membership. Juan watched the vote count appear. His heart pounded so hard he could feel it everywhere. The extermination vote needed 2/3 majority. The count climbed. 40%. 50%. Then it stopped. The final number was 58%. Not enough. The containment proposal failed even more completely. The galaxy had seen Earth's capabilities. Blockading a species that could weaponize asteroids and build secret fleets seemed pointless. The reform vote passed, but that was just the beginning. Now came the hard work of actually creating change. The speaker appointed a committee to develop new guidelines. Juan was chosen to represent Earth. It was the first time a client species had ever sat on such a committee. The negotiations took 6 months. They were brutal. Hardliners fought every change. They wanted to preserve as much of the old system as possible. But the Reform Coalition held together. Slowly, painfully, a new framework emerged. The tribute system was abolished completely. In its place came trade agreements. Client species would sell resources at fair market rates. They would not surrender them as tribute. Technology transfer became reciprocal. The Council would share knowledge, but client species could also contribute their own innovations. Most importantly, clear criteria were established for advancement. Client species could achieve full Council membership based on demonstrated capability, not on arbitrary judgments of cultural worthiness. Earth was granted provisional member status, the first client species to achieve this. 3 others immediately petitioned for the same designation. When Juan finally returned to Earth, he expected celebration. Instead, General Soman met him at the spaceport with a serious expression. "We need to talk," she said. They flew to the Secret Defense Command facility. Inside, Juan found the same people who had planned Earth's defense. Colonel Day, Admiral Isul, Dr. Hyan, and others who had risked everything on humanity's ability to fight. "Congratulations," Day said. "You changed the galaxy. That is impressive, but..." Juan could hear it in their voices. "But we are not foolish enough to think everyone accepted this outcome," Soman said bluntly. "The hardliners voted for extermination. They still want us gone. They will look for any excuse to reverse the reforms. So we stay ready," Juan said. "We keep building ships, improving technology, maintaining our defenses." "Exactly," Admiral Isul confirmed. "We showed the galaxy that humans can fight. Now we need to show them we can do more than fight. We need to prove we deserve full membership, not just provisional status." Dr. Hyan pulled up a display showing research proposals. The council species specialized so much in their technology that they lost flexibility. "We are proposing joint research, combining their sophistication with our adaptability. If we can demonstrate the value of our different approach, it strengthens the argument for diversity." "We are also getting requests from other client species," June added. He had returned to Earth with Juan. "They want to know how we organized our defense, how we unified our planet, how we stood up to the council. Some are asking for direct help." "Do we help them?" Juan asked. "Carefully," Soman replied. "If we openly encourage rebellion, the hardliners get ammunition. But if we share information and establish cultural exchanges, that supports the reform movement. We show that client species can achieve advancement through legitimate channels." They talked through the night, planning humanity's next steps in a galaxy that had changed but was far from stable. As dawn broke over the Pacific, Juan stood at a window looking out at Earth's cities. He thought about how close they came to losing everything. "We did something impossible," Hyun said, joining him. "We went to war with the galaxy's ruling power and survived." "We did more than survive," Juan replied. "We changed the rules. The council assumed client species would always accept subjugation. That was how it had always been. We proved them wrong. Now other species are questioning their status. The galaxy will never be the same." "Do you think the reforms will last?" Hyun asked. "If we make them last," Juan said. "The hardliners will push back. There will be challenges, attempts to return to the old system. But we have allies now, council species who believe in the changes. If we can prove that diversity makes civilization stronger, if we can show that client species bring value beyond resources, then yes, I think the reforms will last." 6 months later, Earth hosted its first diplomatic summit. Representatives from 30 client species and 12 council members came. They did not gather in some council facility. They met on Earth in Geneva, in a building designed by human architects using both human and alien technology. The summit focused on implementing the new trade and advancement protocols. It was technical, detailed work, the kind of careful negotiation that never makes exciting stories, but it was necessary. On the final day, the Verdant Union representative requested a private meeting with Juan. They met in one of the summit gardens. Earth plants grew alongside specimens from the Verdant Union's home world. "I wanted to thank you," Deeproot said through the translator. "Your rebellion forced us to examine assumptions we held for thousands of years. We realized we had become as rigid as the hardliners we opposed. Change is difficult but necessary. We could not have done it without allies," Juan replied. "If you had not supported the reform vote, Earth would have faced extermination." "Perhaps," Deeproot agreed. "But you gave us courage to speak. For too long, those of us who questioned the client system stayed silent. The cost of dissent seemed too high. You showed us that silence carries its own cost. Sometimes you must fight for what is right, even when success seems impossible." As the summit concluded and delegates returned to their worlds, Juan stood in mission control watching the departing ships. June joined him carrying a datapad with schedules. "You have meetings with 4 client species delegations," June reported, "all requesting information about our defense systems, economic organization, and diplomatic strategies. Also, the council invited you to sit on the technology sharing committee. From slave species to committee member in 1 year," Juan said dryly. "Quite a promotion." "It is more than that," June insisted. "We proved something important. The council based its entire system on one assumption. Advanced civilizations naturally dominate lesser ones. We broke that assumption. We showed that resistance is possible, that diversity has value, that different paths can lead to equal achievements. As long as we maintain the ability to defend those principles," Juan reminded him, The galaxy respects strength. We showed them we can fight. Now we have to show them we can do everything else just as well. Years would pass before Earth achieved full council membership. There would be setbacks, challenges from hardliners, moments when it seemed the reforms might fail. But humanity had learned patience along with defiance. They had changed the galaxy once. They could do it again. Around the solar system, life slowly returned to normal. But it was a new normal. Humans walked with more confidence now. They had faced the ultimate test and passed. They had looked at impossible odds and refused to surrender. Children grew up hearing stories of the Battle of Sol, of how their parents and grandparents stood against the galaxy and won. These stories would shape a new generation, one that believed nothing was impossible for humanity. In the council chamber, changes continued. More client species petitioned for advancement. More reform proposals were debated. The system was evolving slowly but surely. Earth had started something that could not be stopped. Some council species adapted well to the changes. They saw opportunities in the new system. Others resisted bitterly. They mourned the old order where everything was certain and their place was secure. But the galaxy was moving forward whether they liked it or not. Admiral Isol continued building Earth's fleet, but now they also built ships for other client species, sharing technology and expertise, creating a network of allies who could defend each other if the hardliners ever tried to reverse the reforms. Colonel Day's research teams worked with scientists from dozens of species. They combined different approaches to technology. Sometimes the results were revolutionary. Other times they failed spectacularly, but they kept trying, kept learning. Dr. Hyon established cultural exchange programs. Artists, musicians, writers from Earth and other worlds shared their work. They learned from each other. They created new forms that blended different traditions. Culture, it turned out, could break down barriers that politics could not. General Soman eventually retired from military service. She had spent decades preparing for war. Now she worked on building peace, training the next generation of commanders, teaching them that strength was not just about weapons. It was about knowing when to fight and when to negotiate. Juan remained Earth's primary ambassador. He traveled constantly, meeting with species across the galaxy, building relationships, solving disputes, always working to strengthen the reforms and prevent backsliding. Sometimes late at night in whatever station or ship he was on, Juan would think back to that moment in the council chamber. When he stood alone before hundreds of hostile aliens, when he knew that his next words might condemn Earth to death, he had been terrified. But he had spoken anyway, because that was what humans did. They faced their fear and moved forward. The council had expected Earth to accept subjugation like every client species before them. They expected compliance, surrender, acceptance of the natural order. They never expected humanity to fight back. They never expected that a species from a death world would refuse to accept the unacceptable. Most of all, they never expected that humanity's rebellion would inspire others, that it would fracture the unity that kept the council in power for